All right, so I was going to skip over this developer update because it was kind of small for the most part, but I seen a lot of people making a pretty big deal about the haste and hinder changes, so I wanted to probably bring out the good side of this change. I know it seems pretty bad. A lot of people hate it, understandably so, but there is some good to it. So we'll scroll down to it, right? Haste and hindered changes. Haste no longer stacks with other haste. Hindered no longer stacks with other hindered. Update status effect widgets to display current haste and hindered values, which I think is kind of cool, So you can see, oh, I got hit by a purple bottle, and it'll show up in the top right hand corner, purple bottle, 11% hindered, whatever, things like that. I think that's cool. Updated select perk descriptions to change base movement speed adjustments to haste or hindered effects. Introduce small buster perks which previously relied on stacking. So yes, it does suck, but there is a bright side to it, right? So it mentions hope and made for this, which was absolutely insane. Never should have been a thing, honestly. Survivors moving at 110 against 110 killers. This was an absolute nightmare as a Huntress main. And a lot of people try to tell me, oh, Huntress wasn't affected by that. Just because she has a ranged attack doesn't mean she's not affected by it, right? I already made a couple videos. People who play Huntress a lot already know this. There's certain loops where you just can't use your power. You just can't use your power. And there's even more loops where you have a very, very small window to use your power. And if a survivor's moving at 110, good luck. You will never, ever hit a survivor moving at 110 on probably 70 to 80 to 90% of the loops in this game. It's just not going to happen. That is insane, right? So I'm fine with things like that leaving, but I do understand survivors, it's kind of like a meme thing, really. Blood Pact, Dark Theory, Teamwork Power of Two, Hope, stuff like that. Combining them together, a little bit of perk dynamics, and it's going to be sad to lose that. I know killers have the same thing. You got machine learning, batteries included, no one escapes death and whatever. But the bright side to this all is, if you think about the haste and hindered perks on their own, they're all trash. Teamwork Power of Two requires you to be close together. Trash. Blood Pact. Trash. All these perks are pretty bad. What's some killer perks? Batteries included, in my opinion, fucking trash. No-ed, 4%. Trash. It could be like 6% in my opinion. No-ed's main power is really the insta down. Honestly, you could just have it be insta down. I think it would still be a great perk, right? Then you got the new hex perk, Nothing But Misery. Probably the worst hex perk we've ever seen besides Two Can Play. Two Can Play is definitely worse than that, right? But the thing is, they have to design all these perks while keeping in mind other perk potential stacking, right? So, you got to do 2% for Dark Theory and 4% for Teamwork Power 2 and 4% for No-Ed and 5% for Batteries Included, because you got to think about a potential stacking scenario where all the perks are coming in at once. So you don't want it to be 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, and just have a killer moving at 180 for 60 seconds, 90 seconds, 2 minutes straight, right? So they have to limit themselves in what they can create. And I think that's the benefit to this change. Even though it sucks, you're not going to be able to use your little goofy perk builds or even some of your stronger perk builds anymore, right? But now you're going to have, fingers crossed, now you should hopefully have much, much better perks. Like Hex Nothing But Misery, 5% for 15 seconds? No. That should be at least 10%. And it can be 10% now that they don't have to worry about Clown and Freddy being way too oppressive with that Hex perk. If Clown's Purple Bottles and Freddy's Dream Snares aren't working with Nothing But Misery, you don't have to worry about it anymore. You can make the hindered stronger for every killer, so the perk's usable for every killer. So I think that's the hidden benefit to this. Now, hopefully, the devs can go through, which it seems like they are already, they can go through all of these perks that are fucking, honestly, just trash, garbage, and rework them and change their values up to make them more interesting and more impactful on their own, and they don't have to be stacked, right? Because there's a lot of perks on both sides. Just think about Unbound from Unknown. 5% after vaulting a window for 10 seconds. Give me a break. Think about Huntress's Purple Infantry Belt. 3% haste for 5 seconds after landing a hatchet. So first of all, you have to land the hatchet, and then you spend 2 seconds recovering from the throw cooldown. So you're moving at 3% for 3 seconds after hitting a survivor. And that's because they obviously have to factor in other hastes to come into play, right? So hopefully add-ons and perks will be getting changes and rework to actually do something, because there's just a lot of haste and hindered perks, to be honest, that are just fucking garbage, right? So I kind of just wanted to bring that up. That is the hidden benefit to this perk thing, the haste and hindered changes. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that real quick. That does it for this one. Let me know what you guys think about the haste and hindered stacking stuff. Do you guys hate these changes? I don't know. I'm probably biased because I'm a Huntress main and I don't use haste. Like, there's pretty much never a time I use haste. The only haste I ever get is bloodlust, and it's pretty rare that I get bloodlust too, honestly. But yeah, like the example they used was made for this hope, which was actually insane. That was such an insane combination, honestly. At the end of the day, it was so crazy. Survivors and moving at 110 is literally batshit insane. And people are, well, they were always like, oh, Huntress was 110, but she's got hatchet, so it doesn't matter. No, no. Yeah, that does it for this one. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, that good stuff. I'll see you guys in the next one.